Welcome to HRBC show called Let's Talk. So today we have a member from Anthem Entertainment, and Anthem Entertainment is known for its pioneering of innovative public events, specializing in festivals, sports, music, food, and fashion. He didn't bring me any food, but hey, we're gonna let that slide.
Yeah. Next time.
So today we have Mr. Eric Spence, and he is a music publisher.
Indeed, I'm a music publisher, and yes, that's it. I handle a joint venture, our joint venture publishing company with Anthem Entertainment. So they are actually our joint venture partners. They are based out of Toronto. They have offices in LA, New York, London, Nashville, and of course myself. Like I tend to travel around to those various locales, but yes, I'm born and raised here in Virginia Beach.
Okay, so we got a Virginia Beach native.
Indeed.
All right. Um, so you want to tell us a little about your background, how you got here?
Yeah, it's interesting too because I'm born and raised in Virginia Beach. My family's from here in Virginia Beach. Stretches all the way back to my grandparents and great grandparents and that thing. Like at that point too, my grandparents, everyone is deceased now, as far as my grandparents are, but they will refer to this as Princess Anne County, because that's how they grew up with it. But I also say that I come from a family of farmers. My dad, yeah, that's right. My dad was a farmer, and even though we lived in Virginia Beach, and he would rent land in Chesapeake and other sections of the city. And while my high school teammates and our high school classmates were out like surfing and stuff like that, I'll be with my dad out on the farm, and that kind of stuff. And I grew up like that. Like I grew up like that from doing farm work. And I mean, and we didn't have like this wasn't like animal farms, and we didn't really have any like cows or chicken or pigs or something like that. But growing corn, butter beans, snaps. That's right, snaps, not green beans. Whatever. Like that's it. And I was doing all of that, like picking, hoeing the fields, all of that. Like that's how I kind of grew up. So that was a big part of my start. And for myself, went to Kempsville High School back in the '80s and graduated. I played college football. I played high school football at that time, and I got a chance to an opportunity to go out and to play college football. And one of my cousins is a gentleman well known in the area, Mr. Elijah Harris, and he was very instrumental in helping me to actually secure a partial scholarship. So I got a chance to go out into a junior college in Kansas at that time, which is where a lot of, when it came down to junior college football, especially back in the early '90s, that's where everything was centered at. So went out there and played college football out in Kansas. And then from there, transferred to a school known as Northwest Missouri State University, which is where I graduated from with a degree in sociology. But and then from that point, I actually went and I got an opportunity to work with children at a school that was the children, they had all been sent there by their parole boards, various parole boards, and various cities from Chicago to Philadelphia to Los Angeles or whatever the case was. Kids who had gotten in trouble with the law, and pretty much the judges had sent them into this school known as Clarenda Academy. They sent them there to basically straighten out. So they had to complete the program, and them completion of the program either changed like their time or whatever they got or whatever the case would be. So I worked and I did that for a couple of years of just working with the youth there. But I was out in the Midwest. Obviously, like I'm saying, I'm from Virginia Beach. It was very, very rural, and there at the time. And I remember it like too, it's funny enough, I was living in Missouri at the time, but commuting back and forth to Iowa, which is where the school was. So yeah, it's like 38 miles each way. And I was doing that, on a daily basis. And, And, when you're young, you just do stuff like that. You recognize, oh no, this is right. We just do it. You don't even think about it too. So
Yeah.
and at that time, I got a call from a gentleman I know very very well, named Mr. Tim Mosley, aka Timberland, and he called me um, at that time.
Now, why is he calling you? Y'all already knew each other?
Yeah, we're actually related.
Ah.
So
Okay.
so we're actually related, and he called me, and I actually I actually was telling him, hey man, I'm going to come home for like I'm taking a 2 week break, and I'm going to come home or whatever. So she came home, and I saw him. He's like, hey man, listen, this music thing that I've been working on, whatever, it's really about to take off. At that time, he had just left working with Jodeci, and he was striking out to do his own thing, and he had just started that time working with Genuine and working with Aaliyah, and he was just like, man, I really need someone to like watch out for a lot of things for me and take care of a lot of different things for me. And I remember being like, I don't know. I had this plan too, because this plan for me was I wanted to be like a U.S. Marshal. That's what I was thinking of, right?
Okay,
So
okay.
yeah, my degree was sociology. Mine was in criminal justice. So that was my plan, that I wanted to do that. And I remember me going, and listen, at the time, very rural Midwest. I'm like, all right, look. I thought to myself, and I remember like, oh no, Tim, oh no, man, let me see, man, whatever it is. And I remember like I got back, and I was there, and like I said, this is Great Plains of this section, and I'm like, I don't know, man, you know what? Maybe I should kind of give it a shot. And I was like, Tim, I'm gonna do this, or whatever. So I, put in my notice there, and with the school, and they were kind of like, sad to see me go. And I'll never forget this thing of like driving back from Missouri to Virginia, and immediately he was like, okay, look, I got a plane ticket waiting for you. I need you to fly immediately out to LA. And immediately I go and fly right out to LA, and I'm there at a video shoot for Genuine doing this remix for Pony. And and going straight to LA from being in the Midwest for that time, it was like a straight up culture shock. So that was it. And like, from that point on, like obviously I've been in the music industry for that time. I did take a break for a couple of years at one point, and I worked with special needs children, which was a real blessing for me, of just working with them on a daily basis. I'll say all the time that I learned so much from those children, and just how they worked through their challenges and how they overcame the adversity in their lives, and even watching their parents too, and how they dealt with those challenges and those things. And that's a time for me that I really do treasure, of just being able to do that. So that's kind of the long and short of it. And obviously I've worn multiple different hats for the last 10 to 12 years. I've been focused primarily in music publishing, rights management, and handling that over at Bluestone Anthem, and working with our roster of songwriters that we have. They work in various different degrees and different genres and different capacities. So
okay, all right. So now I need you to break down what exactly you do in normal people terms.
Yeah, so I know, I got it, man. Music is intellectual property. Okay, so your own thoughts and what you create is actually a property in and of itself, the same way in which you would look at a physical property, whether it be real estate or that sort of thing. Okay. So it actually has its own way, that it's going to be governed, that it's going to be monetized, all of that. So for me, I work then both, of course, with our roster of songwriters and look for opportunities for them for what they create. But then I also serve as a conduit too, with working with, our joint venture partner which is Anthem, and all of the different things that they deal with, whether it's from the legal side and legal issues that come around to the ministering of the product, to the royalty processing, to any kind of issues that would come up. Then they would first come to me and say, hey, this came up, give us a status on this or that sort of thing. So working on both sides of that is where I, find myself, and also to, there's always a point too of acquiring, you know, working with new songwriters too, and looking for collaborations with them, looking, like I said before, looking for opportunities for them, whether that's them working with other artists, but that's also them working with film, TV, and ad placements. That's a term we use. We call it sync placements, synchronization licenses. It means basically the music itself, audio that you hear, is synced up with the visual picture itself too. So that's another side of a really strong revenue center of the business that I work on too as well.
Oh, okay. So, you already told us you cutting into my questions.
Okay, all right, let's see that. All right.
How did you get to that career path? You already.
That's it. Yeah, it became just a migration. And, I find that this is something that for most people in music, especially on the music business side, this is also going to be the same for the artist side too, because I'm gonna cut into one of your questions and I'm gonna answer something, but I'm gonna pause here because I know and I remember now it's gonna come up. But people will oftentimes move from one area of the business, to another. There are people who came in primarily as entertainment attorneys and themselves now have moved into the creative side now, where some of them are actually heading up labels themselves. So, this is something that happens, and it's actually a good thing, because once you gain mastery of one area, it's really important to help you add value into another. This is one thing I would tell the people, especially from just music itself. We're all connected with one another. We all work with one another. This is term, they use in supply chain called counterparty risk, and it's basically like if I was Kroger. All right, and you were the dairy department. So you have some issue that happens with your milk production that you're supposed to get to me. We're connected. See, my customers can't buy anything if you have something that happens to you. And music actually works that way too, where everybody is really kind of connected. If you have one area that has a real problem into it, or whatever the case would be, that's going to affect something else. We look at the performances that we have happen and we really enjoy with major artists. But what people don't understand is there's a whole side of the business that everybody needs to work together in concert and really cooperate with one another, which not everybody does. But in order for that to happen, like the music has to be cleared, it has to be licensed, and all of that. And what happens is, I'll just even say this as a music publisher, you can listen to some of the greatest songs that you listen to. You may have 10 writers on that particular song, 10 different owners of that particular song. Guess what? In order for that song to be used in that commercial that you hear or in that TV show, all 10 of those people have to all agree on the terms of how that's going to be used. If one person says no, it stops it right then and there. So everybody has to agree. So these are the things that are important. And I say that because these are skills that you will develop as a person in the industry, is learning how to, deal, negotiate with people, work through people, and sometimes even when you get rejection, how you deal with that and how you accept it, and then how you, or even to the point, if you get rejection, hey, that doesn't mean sometimes it's an end all be all. Sometimes you go, okay, great. They said no, but did they really say no? Let me go back to them and say, hey, listen, can you at least do this for me? Can you at least work in this capacity? And sometimes people are like, okay. Or even sometimes you go and you find out somebody said no, they rejected something. You go, okay, but what was the issue?
Yeah,
okay, this is the issue because they had a concern that the show is going to show this, or the performers are not paying. Like, okay, got it. So what if I'm able to get you here? And then they may be like, okay, well, that's good enough. And you'll find that you're leveraging those kind of interpersonal skills a lot. Like, and it's a very big part. So that's one thing too I would say to people is really work on that side themselves, because if you're going to be in the music industry, you're going to utilize that a lot. Like it is not the people that I think sometimes focus on the high academic side of it, which I get it. I'm not telling anybody not know. Now you need to know your stuff. Okay. but the interpersonal side of it and how you're able to work with people. You gotta remember, you're going to deal with people that they have their own interests. They're going to protect their own interests. It may not align with yours. So you need to find a way to work through this. You may not be able to do it. And if you can't do it, then you have to accept that consequence. But sometimes you actually can if you're able to go in and find other nuances and other ways and other approaches and be willing to utilize those.
Okay. All right. Um, does your company do any community outreach programs?
See, I will say this, for us, well, and I know, Nina, and you're absolutely right. Like of asking this is something where, from a company standpoint, we haven't done this. We haven't done this in the way that I think that it could be very impactful to the community. And, obviously for myself, I've done a lot of things, just personal things with people, personal mentoring things with people and that kind of thing. But from a company standpoint, that is something we could do. And I'll say this too, I think we're very open to when people present different opportunities. And obviously, everybody, wanting to be on board to do it. But, it is something like we have a wide roster of songwriters who work in various genres. One of our songwriters, I know. See, I'm gonna jump ahead to your question. See, that's what let me pause. Let me pause, Nina, because because you're gonna ask me something. I'm gonna go.
Now, I do have to be honest. When I was researching some questions to ask you, I was looking through y'all company social media, and it's not looking too diverse unless I go to YouTube. So
I know it's definitely. That's a big part, and like obviously from my side, like as a JV partner, we are. I lead that venture. We haven't hired, people because it's done in a certain way, but as far as for the parent company themselves, that's something that we've always been very vocal about, and they've always been very receptive to ear into understanding of like when it comes down to hiring, of being more diverse. Obviously, they're based in Toronto, and that kind of like I'm not taking them right off the hook, but they're based in Toronto. They have their offices in, like I said, in Nashville, London, and also in LA. But that's I get where you're going with this.
okay,
Like,
okay. I'm just sad when I click on Facebook and I don't see nothing.
I know. Yeah. No, I know.
It's very intriguing.
Yes, I know. I get it. I get it. I know.
So I was forced to put the YouTube link up there because that was more diverse.
Got it.
I need people to see that you do other things than country music.
I know. Let me just say this too. And this is to anyone watching this. This is one thing I'm going to encourage a lot of Black people to do. Okay. Because so often when we think music, we often think about approaching it from the talent side, but we don't think as much about approaching it from the business side and about being in those positions.
Yes.
And that's saying, if there's one thing I would want to put out there and to change from people, would be for them to start thinking of that way. And I would even, to the point, when I look at a lot of the music department
photos,
I
look at those too.
Yeah, but at HBCUs, when you look at a lot of the music departments at HBCUs, and obviously we have people there that are incredibly talented young people, incredible skills. But this is what I've learned. Okay, this is in my 25 plus years. This is what I've learned and what I've seen. Okay. I know people who are head of departments. Okay. Head of departments. But guess what? That person also, when they're not doing their department duties, their corporate duties or whatever, they're playing gigs on the weekend.
Okay.
See, they're still doing their music.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like they're still getting that creative juices, that creative expression out. They're still doing that, but they're still working in music at the same time too. And I think that what happened is what's presented is people can present it as an either or thing. And I'm like, no, that's actually not the experience. That's actually not the way you should be thinking about it. So a lot of times I've seen this where someone can be, in the music studies department or whatever, Norfolk State University or Hampton or whatever HBCU, it doesn't matter, whatever the case is. But they can only think that the only way that they're going to satisfy this musical side of themselves is strictly only pursuing their music career. Okay. And I'm like, no, you need to be much more expansive than that. You could very much now learn what it means to work on the licensing side. Okay, very much what it needs to be to work on the admin side. When I talk about admin, I'm talking about administering publishing and handling royalty processing or working at a label or that sort of thing, or handling promotion or marketing or that sort of thing. Absolutely. I have seen the majority of I wouldn't say a majority, but a large percentage of these people have artist aspirations, or at one time, either they still have these artist aspirations or they did at one point in time and they still do it for just, once again, as we are creative, human beings. Like, we have this side. You have a song in you. You need to go write it and sing it and get it out. But they still do this, and they still satisfy that itch. But they're also able to sustain themselves, sustain their families, work in music. And there's a lot of perks of being able to do that and to be at the center of it all and do that. And this is just not something I think that people think about a lot. They don't talk about it a lot, and they put it in a very binary standpoint, either this or that. That's it. I'm either going all in on my music.
That's right. I'm gonna be a rapper at 45.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? That's it.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Right. And I know. Yeah, no shade at all. And like, not at all. But that's the point. And I'm like, no, actually, it shouldn't be that way, because, and also too, what you'll find is, because they have that artistic side that they're continually to nurture and to hone and to work on, it gives them a great perspective when issues come up, because they can see it from a different standpoint. They can see it and they can empathize from the artist or from the writer standpoint at the end of the day. And I find that those people are really valuable, when it comes down to that, of just being able to have that. So if there's one thing from this, I would definitely encourage people who are into music to really do that. Like, look to add, everyone, the business skills to it. Don't make it either or don't feel like, sometimes I listen to artists, the people that do this, and they feel like they're going to be overly constrained by this. Yeah. So they're not going to be able to do it. Yeah. And no, that's not true. That's not true. Mm-hmm. I know one gentleman, early in our first joint venture deal, he was, he had, really solid position with A&R and A&R administration. They basically, whenever you got to get any kind of like processing with contracts and who needs to get paid, and this musician, he played onto this and he needs to get paid and that sort of stuff. He was very much like handling all of the processing for that. Well, this guy was a producer at the same time. Mm-hmm. And he ended up going on with his production trio, and I mean, they had a whole slew of hits behind them. So he doesn't do that job anymore, but he was there and he was constantly working on this thing on the side. And actually, to those skills of being able to know how machines work internally was invaluable to be able to lead that to his other co-producers. So this is kind of thing too. I think that people, this is a secret thing that I don't think people talk about enough. When I go to panels, people don't talk about this enough. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's actually how this industry is working. Yeah. It's much more like that. So, okay. Yeah.
All right. What are the most exciting things you were able to accomplish in your career?
It's been a lot of them. Like, in a sense of there's obviously been really big things. I mean, from being at a lot of the big shows, watching Tim, you know, watching Tim and crew perform at like Fashion Rocks, and watching them perform at like the Princess Trust concert, in the UK, watching them close at the VMAs, all of those sort of things were like really uh, big moments of watching them happen. I would say even, for me watching, I very much um, live vicariously through everyone else's success.
Mhm.
Like I when they're successful, then I feel successful. I want to see them rise to heights
Okay.
before myself. I'm like, that's really what it is. I don't want to ever look at it. It just shouldn't be that way. It should be me pushing and pressing for someone else to be, and what they accomplish is what's most important. We have one of our songwriters, this is the point I was going to mention, one of our songwriters is a gentleman by the name of David Bratton. And David Bratton is actually, he's a songwriter, he's in gospel music.
Mhm.
But David wrote the song, the Hezekiah Walker song, Every Praise.
Oh,
Um,
got my song right there.
yeah, so, and Billboard Magazine, uh, it was voted as the, gospel song of the decade for the 2010s and 2020s. David actually, too, coincidentally, is music director at Virginia Union University.
Oh.
There. So David, he's lives in New York, but travels down there and works with the choir, and they're this amazing, amazing young people, and just being in business with great people like him,
Mhm.
to me is the thing that I get most excited about. This is always like a continual churn for me. It's never like this kind of galvanizing one pinnacle moment. I don't really ever feel like that. It's much more of what the opportunity I get to do on a day-to-day basis of working with just great people, seeing great things happen in their lives. And that in and of itself is kind of like, that's what it is. So it's never really like a crowning achievement. This is an ongoing, rolling thing. And yeah, I would say that that's at least that's my perspective on it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. What advice would you give to a child watching that wants to follow in your footsteps
I would say this.
and not related to Tim?
I, yeah, I would say for them, I would tell them to truly, and this is not cliche. I really do mean this. This is really to be a lifelong learner. Like you have to be. Like, we are new skills, new things are happening, new platforms are happening. These things are happening, and like the kids are like able to grasp these things very, very quickly and find different ways, different nuances. I remember one time someone was saying this to us. They were talking about YouTube, and they were saying that, a lot of the kids, when they were starting their own channels at YouTube, they were much more adept at different tricks, different nuances that could bring them additional revenue than people that were very established and didn't. And this is an amazing time for a young person, is if you are absolutely open to being a lifelong learner, accumulating, a lot of different skills and ways to do things, but you also too, listen, you need to know how to work with people. Okay. And I know that sometimes, we live in this virtual world. Obviously, as we're here, me, you, and Nina, we're right next to each other. That's fine. But, there's other people watching us right now who aren't here with us in person. So these are great technological innovations and tools that we can utilize on our behalf. And absolutely, that's great. But also, too, really, for a young person, really look to know people and to work with people and to know what it means to work with people. Like, I do believe that those skills will always be valuable to you, because meeting someone in person, I'll be honest, man, maybe that's just me being an older person. I still love to meet people in person, shake their hand, give them a hug, talk to them, see, find out how things are really going with them and that sort of stuff. Take a genuine interest in other people. That's something that I do. And I would say this for a young person, a young child to going up is continue to hone that side, because once you've done that, like to me, you'll always be able to find a place, because you'll always be able to talk to someone and connect with someone. And once you've done that, then usually like something very, very positive can come out of it. So, um, yeah, that's it.
Okay. Okay. So I don't remember when, but Missy Elliott is coming to Portsmouth. We're gonna have a party. You coming?
I don't know, man. I mean, I'll see. Like, yeah, no, I'll see. Like, I mean,
You and Tim coming?
I don't know, man. Tim was in Miami, so I'll see how it is. But listen, I mean, and Aja Missy, like, I can't speak highly enough of her. She is a true icon, and I couldn't be prouder of her and prouder of our area for having someone like that. And I'll tell you this, man, too. You know, people don't really understand sometimes the impact of the musical talent from this area and what it means to people globally. I'm telling you guys, I've talked to people in the UK and, talk to them, and, oh, we want to talk about whatever music, whatever, so and so, and or been to LA or whatever. And like, oh man, where are you from? I'm like, oh man, I'm from Virginia. They're like, what? They're like, Virginia? And like, I'm like, what? And they immediately go in with talking about Tim, Missy, and Pharrell. Like immediately, like they know them, and like immediately, like, and I'm just saying this for even people coming up here. You may not know this now, you're watching this, but you got immediate cachet. Oh. Yes, you may not know that, but you got immediate cachet because you are from this area, and because of those people that I just mentioned, like Tim, Missy, Pharrell, and what they pioneered for people seeing that there was a musical sound that came from here that just resonated and just changed music globally, worldwide. So yeah, like I like you would be incredibly surprised. But yeah, like I'm telling you before, I've been traveled the world globally and told, oh, you're from Virginia. Like, oh, what, Virginia? Oh man. And immediately they'll even talk about Missy or Tim or Pharrell or something like that. And like they'll just know. So
that's cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, those are all the questions that I have. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us?
No, see, I was going to ask you a question. See, I was going to interview the interviewer. Like, now yeah, see, that's how you do it. So, I mean, even for you, for the Hampton Roads Black Caucus. So tell us. So, what are you seeing in the area itself that? What is the mode that you're seeing? Obviously, you're touching on a wide range of people, and even from us, like politically and how things are moving or whatever. Like, what are you seeing from the area in the sense of where we headed next? In that point, yep, that's right. Small question, easy to answer. That's it. No, it's a tiny thing, whatever. But what are you thinking? Man? Obviously, listen. Virginia is a very important state.
Yes.
From a national standpoint, I don't know if people are aware of that. Like, yes. But it is a state that people look to. They have a good sense of how things are going to shake out nationally or whatever. But so it's very important. But even from an economic standpoint or whatever, especially as my area, like what are you hearing? What are you thinking?
So. I can't tell you what is next because we never really know. You know what I'm saying? But I am seeing a shift in the people wanting accountability of the people who represent them. And I am all for that. I am loving that we are waking up and realizing that our vote counts. Or else why would they be coming here? They went from trying to kill us to keep us from voting, they're telling us your vote don't matter. It's all in your head.
Yeah.
You don't go vote. Don't go to the polls. But why are they doing that? Because apparently our vote does matter. So that's why I need us to go vote. I need us to get on juries because, again, our people are going to jail even when they haven't committed the crime because people like us aren't on there, on the jury. so that we can weigh in on, hey, this isn't fair. Hey, there's no evidence to support this. Because we're busy avoiding jury duty. I'm going to need us to be on jury duty so that we can keep the playing field fair. Like if they committed a crime, I'm all for lock them up. But if they did not and there's no evidence to support it, I hate you. Like you got 20 years later, people are coming out because DNA evidence say they never raped the person.
Yeah, 20 years of their life.
Gone. They can't get that back.
No, they can't.
And nobody that looked like us was on their jury. They were just done. So, like, that's all I need. I need people to be on jury duty. I need us to go vote. Apparently, our vote matters. It matters a lot because they keep coming for us in various ways. So, that's what I
got it. So you feel like we are getting a degree of political sophistication now.
Yes, we are waking up. I love it. I love it. When they come, they ask me questions. I like bringing the political people down to the people because it's not all about the country club people. It's about us.
I agree. Has that trickled up to the candidates themselves? Are they aware of that?
Yes.
So they're aware that they're going to have to come correct this time.
Oh my goodness, yes. Like you have certain candidates that you haven't really seen do too much. Realize that, hey, we might get fired this year. So let me go campaign. Let me go talk to the people. Let me not just stay in my little office, in my little circle, and I see what the people really want. Now, I wish they would do this the whole time. But, small steps. Small steps.
Let me ask you a question.
Oh, he asked me questions, so
No. I mean, this is what it is. This is open. Like,
okay, go ahead.
There you go.
I'm ready.
The accountability side. Like,
yes.
How do we hold someone if we have voted someone into office?
Yeah.
And on promises made to
yes.
promises made, I would do X, Y, Z, right? And the person is in office, and then they're not doing what they did. What would you say to the citizenry, like the citizens? What do we do then when we're confronted with that? Is it then, and I'm going to ask this, is it then at that point then? No. Continue to write letters, continue to email your congressman or your representative, continue to place phone calls to give them more pressure and remind them of what they did. Should that be, because I think that this is a thing, this is a common complaint, that I think most people have, is the fact of candidates running on one thing, agreeing to one thing, that they're going to do this or that. And sometimes, I'll even be a little bit fair to them, that sometimes they aren't aware of how complex things will be. And then once they get in there, they realize that they can't. Even still, I still think that, like, what do they say in relationships? Communication is key. Okay, well, let us know. Yeah. What's going on. Don't just go ghost and like ignore it. Tell us what's going on. But the point also I have with that is there are also those who, made these campaign promises with no intention of being able to do it. But what do we do then as citizens? How do we then handle, and when it comes down to keeping these people accountable? Obviously, listen, and I'm saying this, once a person's in office, okay, you can obviously say the next time around, we're not going to vote for you or we're going to vote you out. But once a person's in office, what have you seen has been some of the most effective ways to get them to respond?
So there is power in numbers. That's what our group is all about. We have numbers, right? Okay. So you take whatever the complaint is to the person, because they're in office now and they kind of want to be in office again.
Sure.
So you bring up the complaint. Like recently we had a complaint about the schools in Virginia Beach. So we go and we talk to the people in Virginia Beach. And we'll have as many conversations as we need to have with the people in Virginia Beach about the treatment of children until it changes. And normally it changes because there's power in numbers.
I agree. I mean, that's Fred Hampton said that, right? He said, "Where there's people, there's power." Right. So, okay. So that's it. So really, once again, once that happens,
We'll
like
have a writing campaign. Like,
let's
we'll
begin to
get about
organize, right?
200 people, write the same letter, and send it.
And to
So
organize.
we got to
Okay.
walk up there. We're going to walk up there
Okay.
until you hear us. Now, granted, not one person, things are all about votes. You got to have more than one vote in, Congress and all that, General Assembly,
Of course.
school board, city council. So we can understand, but if you never even brought it up after you told us you was going to bring it up, then there's a problem.
Got it.
Now we can understand you tried and it didn't work out, but if you never tried,
Got it. No, I mean these are things that I think, especially I'm hearing from your vantage point, but these are effective tools in order to get action moving.
yeah,
right?
they got to communicate. You got to be like, hey, you said you cared about African Americans, and I'm not seeing that right now. And then like you start, then you gather more numbers. And do you get more people to call? Make this phone call.
Got it.
Do this.
Okay. Oh, I mean, that's good to know. And I think that's good to know. I think that's good to know because I think that what happens is, let's just be honest, there becomes a sense of exasperation that people have. And there also becomes a point of voter fatigue, and where people they've heard this over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point they just begin to just abstain from the process altogether. And let's just be honest, I mean, people approach it that way, and they feel that way, and they feel that they want to have control over their own lives, and they're become very frustrated when they're not having that control over the things that most matter to them.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I will say is it's very frustrating for people to, someone else is telling you from the outside in or externally what you should matter, but that's not really what people know. People are smart. They know what bothers them. They know they know what's affecting their lives. So that's what they want to address. I don't care what you're saying. This is what I want.
Yeah.
And I'm voting for you to represent my interests, not your interest. So I mean, I gotta get on sandbox, but like that's kind of the issue. So whatever we're able to do in, having people that have their own autonomy to be able to, have their voices heard. That's it. So
I mean, because I remember when there was a lot of people cops shooting us here in Virginia, and so we wanted accountability for that. I don't want to, there are not all bad cops. Nobody's all bad, but the ones that are doing wrong, I need that taken care of. And then they try to distract us with Juneteenth. I didn't ask for Juneteenth. That's not what I wanted.
Yeah, see.
Let's get back. Show me the accountability that you are giving us for the wrongdoing. Now, cops have a hard job. I understand all that. But I need you not to shoot us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's all I'm asking. So don't try to distract me with Juneteenth when I'm asking you not to shoot us.
Yeah. What is that? When that thing happens, the kind of like the 3-card Monty, when people start switching things around and moving stuff and like, oh no, look over here, and it's not like who these years we're living now. This is a year. This is becoming a real era of transparency now. So I think we're almost at a point of looking like, okay, well, who's doing that? Let's just be honest. Like, I can't just send me who's pulling the strings to cause that to happen. And you're absolutely right to throw people off of what they intended or what they were talking about. Like, hey, who? Who should we point the finger at? Hey man, knock that off.
I don't know.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, all right.
I don't know, but I'm gonna bring you back. I'm gonna be like, look, that's cute. Thanks. I mean, if I ain't want to work that day, I wouldn't have worked. But focus on what I asked for. We asked for. We're asking for basic human rights that we're supposed to already have.
Agreed. I mean, that's what we talk. That's what this is. That's what this is supposed to be. So, okay.
You finished asking all these questions.
I'm done. You know, like, man, I see. Anybody ever interviews me, just get ready. Like, it ain't gonna be no one-sided thing, man. I'm gonna ask you what's going on too. Listen, I mean, obviously, like I ain't talking about my area, but you know this. So I'm interested in this. I'm a citizen. I'm a president. I want to know. Okay. You know, like I don't.
You gonna join the Healthy Rose Black Caucus?
Oh, we can talk about it. Yeah. I ain't doing that. Like, no, we can. You know, listen. Here's the thing too. What it means. Listen, I'm not a.
Yes.
I'm a very independent person.
Me too.
So I don't do groupthink.
Me neither.
Yeah, I'm the person who's going to be. I don't care if everybody else is saying we agree to this. I'm going to say, well, I don't.
Yeah.
And that's it. And like I don't really do that. If it's not right, I'm going to be like, no. I'm going to argue. So like. On that, and I don't know. Sometimes people go, I don't know if I want to deal with this. Like, you know, I'm just being honest. Like, oh man, like tell him to go.
So we are a collective group, and then you have people of all races and all political thought processes, and then like you have Republican, Democrat, and then people like me. Who are just like, what you gonna do for me? I can't just all one group. I can't. Nah. Yeah, what you gonna do for us? Because I can't do it. But it's all of us. We're in there together, and we can communicate. And what I like about our group is you can have an opinion, and I'm not gonna call your names or curse you out.
Yeah.
You gonna have
in your face. I'm just playing with you.
I'm not gonna do all that. No one does all that. We have our thought processes, and I'll be like, okay, well, I disagree. We're gonna respectfully disagree with that because, like, there's some things in the government that's going on that folks are okay with.
You know what? You're right,
and I am not.
You know what? And Nina, you're absolutely right. And what is the old quote from Tip O'Neill, right? Remember old Speaker of the House when he said, all politics is local, right? So the truth of the matter is, look, national elections, how they happen, we can all feel a certain type of way or whatever, but you know what? It's a local politics that most matter that you need to have your hyper focus on. So thankful to have somebody like you, really there, bridging, advocating, all of that. Like, no, that's serious. You make us all better when it comes down to that. So
okay.
That's it. All right.
You finished?
No. I'm done.
I'm done.
No.
I'm not trying to rush you. I don't want to rush you.
I'm wrapped.
You know?
I'm wrapped. Okay. Let's go. This was good. This was a lot of fun.
All right. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you ever so much for coming.
Absolutely.
And we don't have any questions. So, bye, y'all.
All right. See y'all. Take care, everybody.